Autumn, 1934. Cambridge, an ancient university whose Gothic spires have risen above misty England for nearly 1,000 years. Here, among libraries with centuries-old tomes and lecture halls echoing the voices of great minds from the past, the British elite was formed, those destined to rule an empire on which the sun never set. But behind this prosperous facade, within the ivy-clad college walls, passions of a very different kind were brewing. The world was living through the Great Depression. Millions had lost their jobs, families were starving, and governments stood idle. In Germany, Adolf Hitler had come to power, promising to restore greatness through hatred and war. In Spain, a civil war flared up, a rehearsal for the looming global catastrophe. Young Cambridge intellectuals, brought up on ideals of justice and humanism, searched for answers. They saw European democracies remaining silent in the face of fascism. Their own government preferred appeasement to action. Many turned their gaze eastward, to the Soviet Union, a land that promised equality, justice, and a future without class divisions. Here, in the halls of the prestigious Trinity College, Soviet intelligence found its most valuable agents, not through threats or money, but through ideology, through convictions, through the faith that only one power could stop the encroaching darkness of fascism: the USSR. 5 brilliant graduates, each destined to be a star of the British establishment. Kim Philby would become head of MI6 counterintelligence. Donald Maclean would rise to one of the highest posts in the Foreign Office. Anthony Blunt would become curator of the Royal Art Collections. Guy Burgess would enter the diplomatic corps. Jan Cairncross would find himself at the heart of Britain's code-breaking machine. Their names would go down in history as the Cambridge Five, the greatest spy network of the 20th century. A group of agents who passed secrets to Moscow from the very heart of British intelligence. For 2 decades, agents who spied not for money, not because of blackmail, but out of conviction, out of a belief in doing the right thing. Today, thanks to the declassified archives of 2025, we can finally tell the whole story. A tale of betrayal and idealism. The story of people who changed the course of World War II and influenced the entire Cold War. A story that still provokes debate. Were they heroes or traitors? Welcome to the world of secrets that shaped our era. Let's begin with the man who became a legend of espionage in his lifetime: Kim Philby. Harold Adrian Russell Philby was born in 1912 into the family of a renowned Orientalist. He received the nickname Kim after Rudyard Kipling's hero, the boy spy from the novel Kim. An irony of fate. At Cambridge, Philby studied economics and fell under the influence of Marxist ideas. In 1934, immediately after graduating from university, he went to Vienna, a city torn apart by political passions. There he helped communists fleeing from the Austro-fascists. It was there that he was first recruited by Soviet intelligence. He was only 22 years old. But Philby wasn't just an agent. He was a master of conspiracy. To cover the tracks of his communist past, he publicly supported the fascists in the Spanish Civil War, working as a correspondent in Franco's camp. This gave him perfect cover and opened doors to British intelligence. By 1944, Philby was heading the anti-Soviet section of MI6. Imagine, the man responsible for fighting Soviet espionage was himself a Soviet spy. Every operation against the USSR failed. Every agent sent into the Soviet Union walked into a trap. Philby knew everything, and passed everything to the center. Guy Burgess was the complete opposite of the restrained Philby. Eccentric, scandalous, an openly gay man in an era when this was a crime. He drank, threw parties, led a dissolute life. But behind this mask hid a sharp mind and fanatical devotion to the cause. Burgess worked at the BBC, then at MI6, then at the embassy in Washington. Everywhere he collected secrets, everywhere he passed them to Moscow. Donald Maclean was the highest ranking of the five, a brilliant diplomat. He rose to head the American Department of the Foreign Office. He had access to correspondence between Churchill and Roosevelt, to plans for creating NATO. to secrets of the atomic program. The Soviet Union knew about nuclear weapons development almost as much as the British government. Anthony Blunt was the most unexpected member of the group, an art historian, curator of the Royal Collection, a man who personally communicated with Queen Elizabeth. He was recruited as a student and recruited new agents himself. Blunt remained undetected the longest, until 1979, although he confessed to the authorities back in 1964 in exchange for immunity. And finally, John Cairncross. He didn't like social gatherings and diplomatic games. Cairncross was an analyst, a genius of decryption, and it was he who worked at Bletchley Park, the British code-breaking center. What he passed to Moscow changed the course of the war. All five were recruited young. All believed they were fighting fascism, but their work continued after the war. When the alliance with the USSR turned into the Cold War, they continued to pass secrets even when this could no longer be justified by the fight against Nazism. Why? This is a question each answered in their own way. Bletchley Park, a modest Victorian estate on the outskirts of London. During the war, it was fenced off, wooden barracks were built, and it was turned into the main brain center of British intelligence. Here, far from the front, thousands of people labored: mathematicians, cryptanalysts, engineers, humble typists. Their task was to break the German codes, to make the impossible possible. The most frightening enemy was the Enigma machine. Every day the Nazis changed its settings, hundreds of radio messages were broadcast, and it seemed this stream of information would never be deciphered. But it was here, at Bletchley, that the first computing machines were created, allowing messages from the enemy to be read almost in real time. In one of these barracks worked John Cairncross, the last member of the Cambridge Five. His colleagues knew him as a quiet, not very sociable analyst, a genius of decryption. Cairncross had access to decrypted German orders, information about troop transfers, plans for offensives. He passed all this to Moscow through secret channels. Recently declassified documents from 2025 for the first time reveal fragments of intercepted radio messages that saved the lives of thousands of Soviet soldiers. The Soviet command knew in advance about the movements of army groups, upcoming strikes at the Kursk salient, phases of Operation Citadel. This information changed the course of battles and shortened the war. The work of Bletchley Park is still shrouded in mystery. Many documents remain classified to this day, but one thing is clear. Without this information, victory over Nazi Germany might have taken much longer and cost much more. The story of the Cambridge Five is not only a chronicle of intelligence operations, but also a personal drama filled with fears, doubts, and losses. Kim Philby led a double life 4 years. He was closer than anyone to exposure. He was suspected, checked, interrogated. Every day he woke up with the thought that he might be arrested. In letters to his wife, Rufina Pukova Philby, he confessed. It was not only his duty to the idea, but also the impossibility of turning back that made him stick to his choice. Family archives preserve photographs where Philby looks like an ordinary Englishman, smiling, playing with children, sitting at the table with friends. But on the back of these photos are short notes in Russian. All is well. I am at my place. In 1963 Philby was forced to flee to Moscow. His third wife stayed in London. He would never see her again. Rufina's memoirs contain many details about life in the USSR. Meetings with intelligence officers, evenings with books, longing for home. Veterans of Soviet intelligence recall the respect they had for them. Their story became a symbol of idealism and tragedy at the same time. Each had his own motives, his own inner mysteries, his own sacrifices in this big, but often cruel, world of intelligence. The role of the Cambridge Five cannot be overestimated. Their work changed the course of World War II. saved thousands of lives, and shaped the foundations of global intelligence. The secrets they passed to Moscow allowed the Soviet command to make strategic decisions, to know in advance about enemy offensives, and to prepare for the toughest battles. After the war, as the Cold War began, the information from the Five helped the USSR avoid traps and strengthen its position on the world stage. Yevgeny Primakov, director of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, said, "The Cambridge Five are a unique case, unmatched in the history of world intelligence. Their success is not only the result of personal courage, but also a lesson for all intelligence services. Ideology can be stronger than fear and money." Today, their names are a symbol of the era's contradictions. Some see them as heroes, others as traitors. Their story is vivid proof that the world of espionage is always more complex than it seems at first glance. Secrets have been revealed, but questions remain. Were these people realists or idealists, heroes or traitors? Their fates reflect the complexity of an era when the line between good and evil was especially blurred. History is not just documents and facts, but the lives of people who changed the world behind closed doors. Subscribe to the channel to learn more about the secrets of intelligence, about those who shaped history from the shadows. Ahead are new investigations, exclusive declassified materials, and authentic human stories.